150 years ago, had you destroyed someone's wagon in the process, you would have had to pay for it. You know, whatever it took, you would have to go ahead and say, okay, I'll fix it. And that was your responsibility. And they could deal with that situation. The same thing holds now. We've just got to educate people that we need to be more responsible and accountable in these processes. Okay? Now, before I get to this fun part about this, I'm going to tell you that the method I advocate is very simple. It is not the paper shuffling. It's not all of this kind of stuff that comes about, for instance, through the redemption process. The redemption process and everything that's involved with it, is legally and technically correct. It is. I won't dispute that at all. However, there has been some changes, and most of the people in this room probably know this, is that we learned exactly who we were. We know who that is. And we know what we need to do in order to try to regain that. We don't have the numbers to make the big difference that we really need to make, the system change internally. When most people bring up these events now, I don't know if y'all run into this situation, but I would bet some of these people in this room have, as you go into the situation, either they won't listen to you, or they want to get you in and out of there as quick as possible. The reason is they don't want you, anybody in that audience, anybody that might hear it, to actually hear what you're doing, because they don't want everybody trying to do this. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but 3 years ago, every judge in the United States and every prosecutor in the United States is now required to go to classes twice a year to fight us. Anybody coming in them fighting on redemption grounds. They are taught now how to circumvent us. Now, when we win, and we do win on occasion, we win some of these battles. When we win them, typically the reason is that they goof up. Okay? They'll make a mistake. They'll misspeak. They'll violate their own procedure, and they end up having to go ahead and just dismiss it, just move it on, move on past it. Okay? The times that it does work is when they follow it and they don't know how to go around it. They haven't educated themselves. So they go, I should have remembered that class I just took. So they have to turn back around. They have to move it on out of there, and they try to do it as quickly as possible to get you out of that court. Now, under this system, and I'm going to have to ask for a volunteer. You want to help me out here in a minute? Okay, this constitutional traffic stop is very simple. I say simple. You have to know certain things very well. You need to be able to go ahead and go through this, without having to think about it. Another thing is that you have to know it well enough that you don't let them break the flow. They've got specific strategic, procedural guidelines of what they have to do in a traffic stop. This follows along those guidelines. You will occasionally find a real jerk out there. There's no doubt. There's some just, to use the term loosely, redneck cop that pulls you over, and he's not going to listen to anything you say. He's just going to try to railroad you right there. In those kind of cases, you have to know the other background behind this, beyond the constitutional traffic stop. And like I said, I've got, packets back here that can, bring you up to speed on a lot of that. It's on the audio CD that I've got back there on the right to travel. But in the constitutional traffic stop, which you'll hear me say, if you listen to it a couple of times, and you then, kind of read through it, get to know it, and then you role play it, just like I'm about to do with someone else, and you kind of go back and forth with it, you'll find out that this comes really smoothly once you just figure out a few things. The only things that you really have to know are your Fourth and Fifth Amendment rights, okay? And then you have to know 2 United States Code titles. And what this does is it uses their procedure against them, uses the Fourth and Fifth Amendment, bringing it up against them. It uses these 2 case loads against them. It uses their procedure that they believe their system works. And actually, that's one of the best things on your side, is because they believe the system works, and if they follow the right procedures, they can accomplish what they were told to do by their bosses. Okay? The last but not least, you're bringing up their oath of office. Okay? And once you you walk through this and you walk through this procedure real quick, what happens is they have to follow that same pattern that they were taught to do. They role play on their side what a traffic stop should be. So it's a matter of conditioning. But because this follows their same procedure, they can't break it. They can't break it. And I'll go ahead and tell you ahead of time. I've actually done this 5 times. Okay? I've done this personally, been pulled over and had this happen. 3 police officers just ended up saying, okay, just go on your way, just drive carefully, blah, blah, blah. They let me leave. One walked back to his car, says, just stay here, I'm going to, go talk, go back and check on this. He goes back, and I hear him through his window was down, and I heard his radio. He keyed it up, and I heard one thing, because his voice raised. He says, no, I want to talk to an attorney. Okay? Now, one actually did, at 1 o'clock in the morning, call a magistrate and take me to the magistrate. And when he sat there, he kind of rubbed his eyes, and he just woke up, and he says, well, now, the officer just told me that you said some things out to him, and he did not know how to handle this situation, so he called me. He says, now, would you mind telling me exactly what you said? I said, oh, no problem, Judge. I said, what I'll do is this. I'll just pretend you're the cop. I just threw him right into the role play I'm about to do right now. I did it back and forth with him. By the end, he was just laughing. He was just cracking up. And he finally he says, okay. He turns to the officer and says, I highly suggest you take, Mr. Donaldson back to his car, make sure they do not impound his vehicle, and everything he just told you he can do. And the guy, the cop just, okay. So we left there. He threw me in the front seat, and he was talking to me the whole way back. He said, where did you learn this? Are you an attorney? What is this, And I said, no, I just studied my rights. I said, you've heard the old cliche, and I tell y'all all this, memorize this. Get to know it. If you don't know your rights, you don't have any. Okay? So this is the situation. I said, and by the way, he had to call to make sure that they didn't impound my vehicle because they were about to. So, when I got there, they, on your way. And by the way, over the years, I've had a lot of officers actually that subscribe to my newsletter. Once they heard, what I'm talking about, and they go, wait a minute, that's right. That's right. And then they go, wait a minute, I've got to question what's coming down from me. But one more thing before I go into this, and I'll pull you on up, is this. And that is one of the best ways I've found. And by the way, we need law enforcement officers on our side. Okay? We absolutely need them on our side. So I ask them one set of little questions here, and it will set their minds to thinking, and they will start changing. That question is this. I just ask them, I say, okay, the United States government has 3 branches, legislative, judicial, and executive. Now, legislative creates law. So the executive branch executes law or carries out law. I said, in the judicial branch, judges law. What branch, because this is all inherited from the federal to the state to the county to the city, I said, what branch of government are you in? First of all, every cop will say, I'm a member of the judicial branch. And I say, you judge the law? And they'll say, well, no. I'll say, no, you're not. You're actually in the executive branch. And these are all carried forward. So in the executive branch, think about the president. What is the reason we have this checks and balances between the 3 different branches of government? So if something is unconstitutional, then it can be stopped. Okay? So Congress passes a piece of legislature. The president has the right to veto that legislation saying, no, this is unconstitutional. The same power is held by the judicial side because they can say, nope, this is wrong. So they judge it. They go, nope, this is unconstitutional, and they can rule out that law, make it annulled. So the same power to veto a law every police officer has. Every police officer has that same power. And so therefore, if they are told by their boss, the chief, whatever, and say, I need you to go out and do this, and you're going to make arrests based on this law. If it's unconstitutional, it's not only their right to do this, it's their obligation to veto that law right then. It's not going to make them real popular. But the fact is, they do have that right and obligation. Okay? So I'm going to call you on up, and we'll go through this. And like I said, he's not going to be a real jerk with me right now because we could go on this for hours.
All right, sir, I need to see your driver's license for proof of insurance.
this. Go ahead.
Hey, to send your driver's license and proof of insurance?
Yes, officer. I wouldn't mind doing that at all. But I've got one question for you. Can any of these documents be used against me in a court of law?
Well, yes, I can.
Okay. Well, if I gave them to you, I've got one other question here. Hold on. If I didn't give them to you, what would you do to me?
I'm afraid I have to arrest you.
Okay, so rather than take me to a magistrate, as you're required to under the state constitution and the U.S. Constitution, you're telling me you're going to seize my body, which is, by the way, my property because I'm not a slave. Okay? You're going to seize my body and take me in. Now, I think that's a violation of the Fifth Amendment. Okay, now, of the Fourth Amendment. Now, what are you going to do with my vehicle if this happens?
Well, sir, I'll have to impound it.
Okay, so I take it you're not going to compensate me for my vehicle. So you're telling me you're going to take my property again. So you just told me you're going to violate my Fourth Amendment rights twice. Now, so you've already told me you're going to violate my Fifth Amendment rights by me having to supply something to you that can be used against me in a court of law, and you're going to violate my Fourth Amendment rights twice. Boy, I'm just blown away about this. Well, okay, since this is the case, I'm going to have to give you formal notice. Okay? Under Title 18, Section 242 of the United States Code, that is a violation for deprivation of rights under color of law. There is normally a $10,000 fine per penalty. So you just told me that you're going to pay me $30,000. Now, in addition to that, under Title 42, Section 1983, that is a civil rights violation. I can go after you personally for your house, your cars, and everything you own. Now, let me ask you one more question. Did you swear an oath of office to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the state of Texas?
Yes, I did.
Okay. You do recognize that by violating even one of these, you lose your ability to work in a government office again. So you've just told me that you're going to violate this, you're going to lose all this thing. Do you want to go ahead and take me in now?
Sure, go back to business.
Exactly. That's how easy it is. It's quick. What you'll do is you'll send them reeling. And just like that one cop that was back there on his radio going, no, I want to talk to an attorney. Because they've got enough knowledge to know, wait a minute, this might be right. Okay? They've got enough knowledge to know this might be right, regardless of what they're taught and trained to do. Okay? So we have this that we have to watch through all the time. So, as they go through this process, and you come to role play this, I said, now this one was straight easy. He wasn't, real jerk. Thank you very much. But anyway, the thing is that they will interrupt you. They will. But if you know this down pat, you just, like I said, you saw how I did it. I kind of played dumb. Up to that point. I'm just saying, well, yes, I don't understand this. And a normal cop, the average cop out there is going to, okay, I've got an idiot here. But it's okay. I'll just talk and it'll go fine. But the thing is that once you get to that point and you start quoting Title 42, Section 1983, and if there's two cops, see, there's conspiracy laws for those two. Title 18, Section 241 puts them in a conspiracy role. There's a conspiring to deprive you of your rights. Title 42, Section 1985 is conspiracy of denying someone civil rights. So you can go after them under these cases. Now, I'm going to give you one more little tidbit here too. When you learn these titles, Title 42, Section, Title 42 and Title 18, you'll find out that those can be used in virtually any case that you deal against with them. If you can prove that they've violated your rights anywhere along the way, first of all, your case is thrown out. And the second thing is that you can go after them personally. They lose all immunity. Okay? Judges lose their immunity the moment you can show that they've infringed on your right at all. I'm going to give you a perfect example over the last couple of years. One of the big things out here, and I've actually got another audio I don't have on a CD out here right now. Just haven't had the time to produce it. But it goes on the demise of property rights. I've been dealing with eminent domain issues where they're coming and taking people's property. And the fact is that those are clear violations of your rights. Okay? So if you fight them on those grounds, I've helped to file 46 cases of Title 42, Section 1983, civil rights violations for them trying to take property by eminent domain. They will, and just to show you how scared they are of this, they've even geared into the laws to go ahead and pay off anybody that comes after them under a Title 42, Section 1983, so that way that the cities, the counties, whatever it may be, whichever agency is trying to come after you at that given point in time, will stop all action quickly before it gets to the major media. If it gets to the major media, and here's my next point, it gets to the major media, people start waking up all across the nation. Okay? Now, let's think about the Trans-Texas Corridor. Same thing. They're about to go ahead and start taking all these people's property, and I know that they're having meetings all over the place. I communicate by email with quite a few of them, and those are people that we need to be getting in touch with.